everybody. Let's get to the good stuff, shall we? So today we're going to talk about the different types of working dogs. What does it really mean, and what does it require? What does it look like? And we're not discussing like police, guarding, herding dogs. There's a lot of different types of working dogs. We're going to focus on what we produce and what we place a lot of, and that's service dogs, facility dogs, therapy dogs, ESA dogs. And there's a lot of confusion, unfortunately, in the public too. People will reach out to us and say, I need a therapy dog for my son. And we start asking more questions. They don't mean therapy dog, they mean service dog, right? And then some people say, I need a service dog, but they really want a facility dog. And they absolutely all are different things, different training, different requirements, even different types of puppies. I love placing these priority placement spots. So we do give priority to these spots because I really do need something specific depending on the service dog work, depending on the facility. A diabetic alert dog can be very, very different from a facility dog we're placing in a school, right? And so it's all about the temperament and honoring our puppies so that they thrive in their environment. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Valerie. Christina, I'm so excited for this topic. Good. Let's break this down for you now. Okay, let me see here. Let me put my fancy little thing. We're going to start at what I feel like is the top. These are the most expensive. The service dogs are very, very expensive. By the time for us to produce and choose and do our best possible evaluations and recommendations, the best possible service dog candidate puppy for you, and different types of work for our service dogs, again, require different types of puppies. So I have to know that going in. We also need to know who's going to be the trainer. Now, there can be you can train your own, but listen, very few people can actually do that. And I know you'd be watching YouTube videos and stuff, but if you really don't know the psychology of a dog and the fear and to what, everything's great when everything's going well, right? But they're going to have setbacks. They're not robots. And when you have that setback, the problem is most people that are not professional dog trainers or professional in dog psychology don't know how to handle it, and they make it worse, and then you have a failed puppy, a dropout. And there's so much time, energy, effort, and money put into these dogs that it's my job to make sure before I place a service dog candidate that we have this very open discussion with our clients. Look, I don't want you to self-train. Let's get you a trainer lined up. And the other thing is too, because service dog candidate puppies are not always the easiest puppy. I need high assertive, high confidence, generally high energy, depending. Again, those puppies, it's a long year, and if you let them just get their way all the time, again, it can become a dropout. It can be a wash from, basically our program, not because the placement was bad, because the owner wanted to self-train and they weren't really equipped to do it. And that really breaks my heart. So making sure, so breeders too that are listening, make sure your client has, and you discuss a plan with them. I love when they take them home and do some initial puppy raising, right? And then have a trainer they're working with. Kelly, good morning. Linda, good morning. Make sure they have a trainer to work with from the beginning. So even if they have setbacks, as a puppy, that they're already working with the trainer. They can come into the home, they can evaluate and put you back on track. And that's really, really important. The good thing is with these smart dogs, you can mess up and fix it. So it's just about the determination and the motivation and the tools that you have to be able to fix and adjust and tweak and change as you go. Even our professional trainers have to do that all the time. There's no two dogs that are the same. So service dogs are for one person and they have to be trained specifically, some say 3, some say 1 task to help somebody navigate a disability. Okay, that's what a service dog is. A service dog, don't email me and say, my son needs a service dog, but then I also want to take the dog to work. No. Why would you? First of all, that's not fair. And second of all, that's 2 different types of dogs, maybe. And a dog can't work 24/7. Dogs actually require a lot of sleep. And so we have this idea that is not accurate, that's not realistic of what the dog can do and how long the dog can work. The dog cannot work all day and then work all night. The dog cannot work all day as a therapy dog or facility dog for you and then work at night to be a diabetic alert dog for your child. And I know many of you are like, yeah, no kidding. We get those requests a lot. So we turn down a lot of people for our Healing Hearts program that apply, and they have these amazing stories, and I want to help everybody. But when I start breaking down how realistic they are, I just can't place a puppy because it's just unrealistic and it's not fair to them. And it's not fair to the humans either. Like, it's just unrealistic. So what would be unrealistic? A dog can't tell time and tell you when to take your medication. A dog can't tell you that you forgot to take your medication at 7 o'clock. I'm like, set an alarm on your phone. Like, honestly, like, they can't tell time. Service dogs have to be trained to some kind of action or scent. What do I mean by that? So we train diabetic alert dogs by the scent of saliva. So we have the person receiving the dog, or anybody can that's diabetic, give us lows, generally 60 and below, 70 and below. A normal's generally 90, so we want nice and low. And it's just like training a drug dog. There's no difference in training a bomb dog, a drug dog, a cadaver dog. The work is based on their ability to use their nose. And then we'll train them to the highs. So they have to, the one thing though I will say about diabetic alert dogs, I think they overall, and seeing eye dogs, because they both have to independently problem solve, number one. They may not be given the cue or the command to do it. You know, bomb dogs, they give the command, they're in their work gear, they're ready to go sniff, or whatever their command is, they're told what to do, right? Diabetic alert dogs aren't. We're counting on them to naturally pick up the scent and let us know, hey, you're low. Hey, you're high. Check, check, check. And so it takes a really special dog to be able to do that. So when we're looking at puppies close to 8 weeks old, these are things I'm looking at. And I have really been able to fine tune that. And I share that now with the breeders that I mentor. You don't need a high human focused puppy. You know, all their focus doesn't have to be on you. What I need is a dog that is constantly smelling and air scenting and goes deaf when it tries to track something like their ball or their toy. My puppies will be tracking at 8 years old, not taught. Right? You take the toy and they're like tracking. You're trying to distract them, like tracking. You think, why the hell would that make a good diabetic alert dog? That dog will save someone's life. Now replace that thought of them not giving up on trying to find their ball, and now replace that with the scent. Someone sleeping, someone in a coma, someone seriously low. Check, right? Like, they have that scent and they want their reward. It's literally a game for them. It's a fun nose game. So it's just fine tuning and finding the right dog to meet those needs. So there's different types of service dogs, of course. So there's medical assist. It could be like, go and get my glucometer, go and get my medication. That can be trained, right? We can replicate that and train that over and over and over again. A dog picking up items to bring back to you is another specific trait I look for. Some dogs naturally love to carry things and others do not. Why would I choose a puppy that naturally does not want to carry things? Like, why make things harder, right? So that's what we look for in dogs that need to pick up anything and carry it for somebody, or, you know, on command, pick up my pencil, pick up in wheelchair assist. This is really, really common, right? They need to be able to pick up things for you, or tug and open doors, open the fridge with a tie. I need a dog that loves to use their mouth. Now think of this puppy being 8 weeks to 7 months old before a lot of training is done. They're going to drive you crazy because they're putting their mouth on everything and they're picking up everything, and you can't necessarily scold that, right? That's why they were selected. This is their purpose. This is what they thrive on doing. Seeing eye dog, it is the most difficult placement. It has the highest wash rate. Very few people produce and train them. It's really sad because they can really change someone's life that is blind and give them the freedom again. But we just don't have it super squared away on what types of puppies and breeding programs. There's just a huge washout rate. Like, there's huge organizations that are doing a really good job, but still the washout rate is high. And mainly because these dogs have to absolutely independently problem solve. They get very few commands, right? They have to work by their own sight and understand a red light and, hey, there's a car coming. Do you see how complex this is for a dog? the phone rings, the alarm, the doorbell. We can replicate a lot of that. That's not as difficult, but take a blind person out in public. Think about all of the things they could encounter that they've never encountered before. It's very, very difficult to do. All right. Diabetic alert dog, we've talked about that. Seizure response. Quit letting people tell you they can train a seizure alert dog. I need you guys to get this squared away right now. If you have seizures or know someone that does and they're looking for a dog or a friend or someone you hear in the future, please help me educate them, because a lot of people are being scammed. This is why. Can a dog sniff out something coming? Cancer even, they're starting to show? Absolutely. The problem is, what people are not telling you is we do not know. We absolutely do not know what scent is being emitted before someone has a seizure. So how the hell can anybody train and target something specific and train and practice and replicate without having anything to do, right? So what we can do is train seizure response. So trainers all over, all day can replicate a seizure, from standing up and falling down, in bed, in a chair, in a couch, in a car, whatever, right? And the dog can respond. It's usually deep pressure therapy. They can be wearing all your ID. So if you do have a seizure, someone will, the dog will be laying on top of you. Do you know how safe that makes people feel? How vulnerable people feel going out in public and never knowing, when am I going to have that seizure? It has really given I can specifically think of Madeline, who was in college and even got kicked out of the dorms. They didn't want to take the responsibility, and she stopped doing anything with anyone because she never knew when she would have a seizure. Now she goes out and does so many things because she has her dog with her, Bailey, his vest is marked with all of her stuff. Do not call 911. Please, I'm having a seizure. She has been admitted and taken to a hospital so many times, marked as Jane Doe. And then she's stuck in an emergency room and then sometimes admitted because they start all this testing, and it would just take days then to recover, and all the time in the hospital. And she knows exactly what's wrong, mainly, right? So it has saved her so much time and given her a comfort knowing her dog will be there laying on her, which has actually decreased the length of her seizures. And he has everything necessary anybody would want to know about her. He's wearing her parents' phone number, medical advice, and what she wants done. It's just been truly amazing to watch that unfold. Now, can dogs alert before a seizure? Have they? Absolutely. Over time, whatever the scent is, these little stinkers figure it out, and they are just literally preemptively and excitingly letting you know, because again, it's still a game. They want their reward. They want their treat, whatever they get after, laying on you and taking care of you. Is it my ball? Is it a treat? Is it, whatever? They get that excitement, and they're smart. And those are dogs too that are very, very nose aware. So if we can, when we're placing seizure response, I do like to see a dog that loves to innately use their nose, because that is the goal. But I can't train it. I don't know what the scent is. Our hope is over time, they will figure it out. Yes, they train themselves because they know what's going to happen. They have already figured it out. Just like when your dogs figure out when you grab a certain pair of shoes or grab your purse or grab your keys, they know you're leaving and they'll just go in their kennel. They're like, I already know what's going to happen. So they will do that. It's truly incredible, but please don't pay a trainer or be bamboozled by a trainer that says they will train you in diabetic alert. They cannot train that dog to alert to a seizure. We can train a dog to respond to a seizure. We can replicate a seizure as best as possible, and then reward, and it becomes a game, right? All right. Down syndrome, autism assist. This is really becoming a big thing in our society. There's a lot of benefit as far as just keeping these kids focused, keeping them from running away, giving them a handle or a tie to hold on to. They'll be trained go and find, because unfortunately these kids slip out, especially Down syndrome kids. They have no fear and they're out and gone before you even realize it. I mean, that it's incredibly terrifying, right? That you teach dog, go find. We've placed several, especially Cameron. I'm thinking about with Danny. And God forbid if he slips out of sight or wanders off, they can absolutely tell Danny, go find. And it's just this fun game of hide and seek, right? We can train that to the scent of the child. We need lots of stinky pillowcases and socks and t-shirts, and we cut up into little swatches and train that as well. There has been, it's a little controversial, and we've kind of dabbled in both, but there's you can tether the dog to the child, but overall that's kind of risky. I mean, parents have to be really, really um, still so vigilant, and the whole goal is kind of that they don't have to be that way, especially when they have other children. But what can happen if the dog is tethered to the child? If they're still dogs, and what if another dog comes and starts attacking them? What if a squirrel and they just could not control themselves, right? And they're dragging the kid. And so you need a big enough and strong enough dog to stop the child from taking off, but then that big enough, strong enough dog can what? Drag the kid. And now we train them and train them and train them. Then, we try to work them through every possible scenario. But then we also have to realize we're placing them with the family that are not dog trainers, that they're placed with a child that's not going to be able to correct them. No, you're not going after that squirrel. And so there's a whole different element when you're placing in a home, as far as regulating and controlling that dog safely. So we want to do its best for both. So right now we are working on having the handle, having a strap, and if that gets pulled at all, then we got to count on them holding on to the dog or the strap. If it gets pulled at all, the dog will just sit down, but of course the child can let go, and then we're training go and find, trying to find a nice balance to keep both dog and child safe and give some freedom to the parents. Okay. And there's also like deep pressure therapy. Their outbursts are shorter. The dog will go and lay on them. The dog will play with them. There's so many. We know the benefits to us, especially with our Down syndrome, autism children. So super amazing things they do. Wheelchair assist, we talked about that. They can be right there, pick up things, open doors. You put ties to everything. And, people always joke like, go get me a beer. Well, they can if they're trained. They can go open the fridge door. They can turn on and off lights. They can push buttons to open up doors into the hospital or wherever there's buttons on doors. So we'll do a lot of push and pull, tug work, pick up anything. Like we've trained our dogs to pick up a credit card flat on the ground, a penny flat on the ground. So it's really fun to train, actually. And then mobility assist, people that could be on a cane or a walker, or, we've done mobility assist with Tennille, who has Parkinson's. That one's tough for 4E kennels. I don't place a lot of those because you have to have a certain size dog to help handle the weight of the human. So the taller and larger the human, the bigger dog I need. But here's the deal. I breed hybrid dogs. I'm mixing 2 different breeds. So size can be very, very inconsistent. So this is the conversation I have with people. Look, like if they're small enough, or if it's a child, I feel very comfortable in our standard size dogs, but for an adult, it can get really, really hairy. We can place like limited light mobility where they're not pulling someone up from a chair. That's a lot of pressure on a dog, right? To pull somebody up from a chair. But they're just more balance assist, not mobility. So we'll place balance assist, just get a little wobbly. You're falling downstairs, the dog is right there. They have these vests with handles on them. They just kind of help keep you from falling and, getting further hurt, but they're not supposed to, and they're not meant to take on your full weight. I mean, it's just not healthy for them either. Okay, service dogs, they are covered by the ADA. They have rights into public places. Anybody that has a privately owned place can tell you to leave. Even public places, if your dog poops or barks or growling or causing any kind of commotion, you can be asked to leave. The only thing they can ask you when you enter is that your service dog? Yes. Is that dog trained to help you? Yes. That's it. So you can see a lot of loopholes and why so many people are just taking their dog out in public and ruining it for those that have a service dog because of all the commotion and then people being crabby and rude about them having the dog. Our goal, and like when we just went and ate out with Penny as we were doing her go home lessons, we went to California Pizza Kitchen and she tucked under that table. Nobody knew she was there the entire time. And that is the goal. Like our real service dogs and our clients and our trainers, we don't want people to be offended by the dog being there. So the goal is to make sure nobody knows they're there. However, they're really stinking cute. So getting in and out can be a little bit of a commotion because everybody wants to stop and pet your service dog. What do you say when someone wants to stop and pet your service dog? I'm sorry, they are working. Will they be offended? Maybe. Will they say something sassy to you? Absolutely. So, public right now, when you see a service dog out working with the vest, and they legally don't have to have a vest, but it makes all of our lives easier if they do, right? Don't even ask them to pet the dog. Don't even try to distract the dog. Just leave them alone. Pretend they are invisible, please, for the sake of the dog and the handler. If you are distracting the dog and like, oh my gosh, it's a puppy, it's a dog, they're so cute, can I pet them? You're actually ruining their service dog. What you're doing is saying, focus on everybody else but your handler. How can they be tracking diabetic scent or being ready for a command or another medical assist or PTSD if things get too crowded and, body blocking? You're literally distracting them. One. Two, you're ruining them by training them that when they go out in public, they're just going to look to everybody like, are you going to pet me? Are you going to pet me? Are you going to pet me? Hey, everybody pet me. That's not what we want our service dogs. We want them focused. We want them working for their handler. Trust me, they get so much love and affection and are so well taken care of. They don't need yours. So quit making it about you. It makes you feel better. Believe me, I love these dogs. I want to put my hands all over them when I see them, but I don't. I literally walk on by like I didn't even see them. So please do that as well. Okay, I think we covered it all, right? I think we got all of that for our service dogs. Let's move on to the next one. I'm kind of going like in order, what I feel is like the most difficult, the most expensive, the most specific dog needed. The second one is our facility dogs. This is a fairly new concept. When I was teaching, 13 years ago, no, it was more than that because I started my business 13 years ago. So 13, 12, 10 years ago, when I was teaching at-risk kids, there was little to no information about having a dog in the classroom full-time. There were a lot of therapy groups. We'll talk about therapy dogs in a minute, but that did not fulfill my needs at all to have a dog in the classroom on a full-time basis or close to full-time basis. So I was the first teacher in Clark County to have a dog in the classroom full-time. There was so much red tape and so many holes and loops to jump through. I was very fortunate that my admin was super supportive and helped me wiggle on by some of those things so that we could get a dog in the classroom. It is really, since, I said 12, 13 years ago, it went from nobody doing it to so many people finally seeing what a dog can do at one location for everybody there. Does that make sense? Let me repeat it again. A facility dog is, you're the owner of the dog, you're responsible for the dog, unless the organization, the business, whatever, wants to buy the dog. We've had that too. You're training and you're responsible, and you take the dog to work with you. Most of the time, you have to honor your dog if they're tired or there's too much going on. You have to manage that for them. Is there any kind of certification? No, there's not. So, and how do you get permission? The owner, that's it. The owner, you guys sit down and hash this out. These are some things that you definitely need to discuss. Who's the legal owner? What if you leave that place of employment? What if the dog gets sick? Who's paying for the dog? What about training for the dog? Who's going to cover the rider on insurance for the dog? You have to have insurance on the dog. What if they accidentally scratch someone? What if they did bite somebody? What if they trip somebody? So I covered, mine was legal dog. I trained him myself. I covered the rider, but that was exactly why I never let another teacher take him or anything, because I knew all of his stress signals. He trusted me. I trusted him. We worked together beautifully. I would never have let another teacher or staff member take him to work him. Absolutely not. That wasn't fair to him either, right? So facility dogs are one dog that work for the same location. It's like their second home, right? People were kind of doing it before, if they had their little shop, their little store, and their little bookstore, and the dog would be with them because they practically live there. So the concept has been there for a long time, but not so officially as it is now. This is one of the most exciting things for me to do in place, because this is how I got started, right? So it works at one location. Please don't email me or any other breeders saying your husband wants them at his job, you want them at your job, and then you want the dog to be a diabetic alert dog for your child. You're laughing at me right now, but you do not understand the unrealistic expectations people have. They have one job, that's it, and it's enough. And when they're not there, they are a pet, period. They have to be trained in high obedience, just like service dogs. Some public access, we run them all through the public access work too, because you never know how unpredictable the same place can be. And then, of course, evaluating for temperament. The hardest dog I've had to place is for a funeral home, because I needed high confidence, not super assertive, and not tender-hearted at all, but high human focus. So getting that aligned is not those puppies just don't come around often, because I'm asking this dog to be at work in an environment where there's a lot of intense human emotions. Every person that comes in knew that he has to meet Snickers at Palm Funeral Homes in Las Vegas is grieving, like hugging, sobbing, so sad. Those of you who've had to go through that know. I clearly remember sitting there and planning my brother's funeral, and making decisions like what box he should be burned and these things that I couldn't even process. My mom had suffered a massive stroke when she found him dead. So I just stepped in, not even knowing what to do or how to do it. And I clearly remember sitting in the office, making these god-awful decisions and thinking, where's my dog? Like, can I bring my dog with me, please? And from that moment on, I knew that this could be a really amazing thing. So we're really trying to get those dogs in there. The problem is it takes a very specific dog, and not many breeders can truly evaluate for this kind of work. So trained obedience, location decides on insurance, who's the legal owner, have these discussions, get it in writing. If you leave that place of employment, who owns a dog, what happens to the dog, all of those things need to be discussed and in writing before you proceed. It's also lengthy process and can cost some money. Most people do need to, and I highly, highly recommend, unless you've trained dogs before that have just been flawless and beautiful for the most part of handling unpredictable environments, need some kind of professional trainer, just like our service dogs, because there will be setbacks. The problem is too many people push too soon, and they got their little puppy in the office, and as a young puppy they learn all people are unpredictable and put a lot of human emotions on me. So this becomes this unrealistic fear and distrust in you, that you're not listening to their stress signals. Things should be short and fun. And I know you're excited, but like bringing a puppy to work for long periods of time, or even letting anybody pet and hold them at that point, I wouldn't even do. Like when we start training our school dogs, we're going to the school alone a lot. Like, let's get them used to the school, the bells, the sounds, the staff first, right? And then slowly, as they get older, incorporating the unpredictability-ness of your place of employment. So that's the number one reason why facility dogs fail, is they're pushed too soon, too much, and they're just like, I don't want to leave because it's too much. Like you just did, even with our puppies, a lot of the unrealistic fears of going out in public or meeting new people, it's because you push too much too soon. There's no reason anybody needs to pet your puppy. You're not creating a well-balanced dog at that point, especially a young puppy. I need them to know without a doubt I will protect them. So I see any stress signals, we bounce. I don't let everybody touch them and overwhelm them and all their emotions. But oh my God, the puppy! These puppies think every human's crazy, right? They're all so intense, and some puppies love that and they get more excited, and others kind of shut down. So knowing your puppy is key too. All right, good. Facility dogs. Any questions? Like, go ahead and drop those questions as we go. So let's talk about what I feel like is the third tier. I think this one's a lot more accomplished. Therapy dogs. But this is what I get a lot. We'll get emails saying my son has social anxiety or autism or Down support or whatever, and we need a therapy dog. And we had to literally email back and say, do you want the dog to work for your son specifically, or are you planning on training and joining an organization to go out and work the dog once a week at whatever locations they have contracts with? Do you see the difference? So a therapy dog is a pet. I've trained my own therapy dogs. I have my own therapy dog team. Some of them are in our breeding program. Hannah and Holly both were. Both retired now in breeding and therapy dog work, unless it's something short. But you generally do the training. You just sign up for weekly training, find a trainer you love, or if you know what organization you want to work with, do your research. But there's like Therapy Dogs International, there's Delta Pet Partners. Like, just type online therapy dog organizations in my area, do some research. They usually have their own trainers, and they absolutely have their own requirements you have to meet. So see what you feel comfortable with. I will tell you, it's limited, right? So once your dog is old enough to evaluate, usually at a year, and they have to pass the Canine Good Citizen test. So if you are already like, I want a therapy dog because I want to go visit other people with my pet, right? And then, go home. Oh, rights for a facility dog. Let me back up just a second. They don't have any rights in public. They are not certified in public. They can go to your work because that was agreed upon, and home. That's it. Work and home, which they should anyway. Don't be like taking them to work all day and taking them into Walmart. Like, that's unfair. Too much, right? So therapy dogs, the same thing. Absolutely no rights, and even kind of less rights because you can only go into places that have a contract with that therapy dog organization you have volunteered for, and you usually only get to work 1 hour once a week. Again, it depends on the organization, but those were the rules when I was part of Delta Pet Partners. 1 hour once a week. So I spent my Thursday nights down at the Marquis Care in Las Vegas and had my usual clients. They became friends. I just, you fall in love with the people you work with. And I will say the bond you get with your dog sharing in some heartache and successes where they got to move out or whatever it really brings you to a whole different bond. It's undescribable. And this has happened with everybody. Like, even Heather, I know, talked about this. She has a school facility dog, and Lucy has done therapy dog work as well. Before she was a facility dog, she's worked on our therapy dog team. You don't realize the connection you get with your dog when you're both giving so much of yourself together. It's this incredible bond. But man, you have to know their stress signals. You have to know what they will like or don't like. My Holly, I could take anywhere. And she's one of the few dogs that could do crisis response. That's kind of a whole different thing. If that's something you would enjoy, generally retired people, you can find a crisis response team, but all you do is travel to crises generally. It's very difficult. So we had the October shooting in Las Vegas several years ago. We had teams coming in from all over the United States employing their crisis response dogs. I vested up many of mine, and down we went as well. Holly was one of the few dogs to be able to work the amount of hours and events. And really, I attribute it to our bond together. Like, she trusted me without a doubt. When she felt uncomfortable or it got too much for her, she just looks at me and I just know the way she looks at me. She's like, Mom, please save me. Like, we got to go on a break, time to go. And because we have that connection with each other, I can work her anywhere. Hannah has done phenomenal, but she is not a crisis response dog. Hannah does not like intense human emotions. Hannah is more like, it's on my terms. One-on-one is best for her. No hugging, no crying, none of that nonsense. It has to be happy. She does fairly well in schools. If it's not a whole swarm of kids, she'll look at me too and like, I'm out, Mom. Holly doesn't like cigarette smoke. So if there was a lot of cigarette smoke involved, Holly would give me her look and I'd be like, sorry, we have to go take a break. It's so, so important that you advocate for your dog. And that can be tricky. I didn't always do that because I'm just like, I just want to help people so bad. And I'm like, well, it's my dog. They'll do what I tell it to do. But once I really got a hold of, it's not me telling them, it has to be a reciprocal unit, my dog and I both going in. And there were things that made me very, very nervous too. And I had they had my back too. Like, I don't think I could have ever walked into the coroner's office. I'm getting emotional if I didn't have Holly, because I knew without a doubt I could do that with her. And she was one of the few dogs that could work at the coroner's office. Many of the dogs were very upset by the smell of the technicians coming up to visit us. Really difficult to see people in such pain and difficult situations. So the crisis response is a whole different level of work. Make sure you're ready. You got to make sure you got the right dog, because you're putting a lot of pressure on them in these kind of environments, okay? But I love long-term care facility. The little dog I was working at that time, Christina, you know my little Getsy. We were at school together, and he hated it though. He did so much better. That's why I had to retire him and look for another dog, which is why I'm here now today. So I do appreciate that. Once I started to learn to honor him, like, he can't do this, he doesn't like it, but he loved going on Thursday to the long-term care facility and curling up on bed and loving on his people that he knew. He loved the predictability and the reliability. When you test with your organization, whichever you choose, they're going to help you. They're going to score your dog based on how unpredictable of the environment you can work in. And they won't allow you to do anything other than where that dog is. So, and I love that they do that. So honor and trust that as well. All right, anything else about therapy dogs? No, we're good. I love it. I encourage people to do that if it's something that will fulfill your soul too. But again, it can be very difficult, and we were working in long-term care facility, people that I've been visiting with for a year, and you go every Thursday, and you go Thursday and they're gone, and we had also been asked, a gal named Wendy was dying, and they called us in to sit with her, and she just wanted the dog there. So long hours and very, very difficult. And I got special permission to stay longer and work more often to be with her, but it's like hospice care. It's very, very difficult. So find what you feel okay with. Schools love to bring in therapy dogs, different from a facility dog, because the facility dog would work for that school only. Therapy dog teams can go in, the school requested a visit because these kids did really well in testing, or the school requested a visit because we have some testers that are super anxious. Can you be in the testing room with your team of dogs? And then the organization will contact you if your dog meets that ability to work in a school. They'll contact you, and then you can decide, yes, I can be there, or no, I can't. So a lot of times therapy dogs work together. There's not many times that you go by yourself with just your dog. So one thing I look for when people want to do therapy dog work is I don't want a dog that's super social with other dogs. We want the human focus, number one, environmental focus 2, and hopefully dog focus number 3, so that it's not all about, there's friends to play with when you're trying to do therapy dog work. They get more excited about the dogs, right? So, and a lot of that's training as well, but again, it's still innately who they are. So really trying to fine tune all of these things, when clients come to me, these are all the things I have to consider. So it's a lot, it's a conversation, and I'm so thankful that people trust me when I say this dog is not cut out for this, or here's your 2 options, but here's your pro and cons with each puppy. Which do you feel more comfortable with? Because there is no perfect puppy. So there's always that conversation as well. Okay, last, this one's a good one. This one is highly, highly misunderstood. It's the ESA, which unfortunately really isn't a working position anymore. There's been a lot of abuse with this, and so people have had to stop allowing these dogs. So let me just look real quick. You have to pay. Yeah. So it used to be you can get on an airline with your ESA, and your ESA could have been a hamster. So you can see where that went very quickly, that everybody was just flying with their dog, calling it an ESA, or their hamster, or their cat. It's my ESA, it's my ESA. That all got shut down very quickly because people were absolutely taking advantage of it. ESA really means like they work for one person. It's generally anxiety or depression, honestly. Yes, I need to learn so much about this. Yeah, no, Christina, you probably don't want it. Well, here's the difference. So when does it fall into service dog with severe anxiety or depression? And when does it stay in ESA? And the simple answer to that, Christina, is there a trained specific task the dog could do to help your daughter? Number 1. And really number 2, do you need the dog to work in public with her? And if you do, ESA is not what you want. Here's the reality. All of our dogs are ESAs for us. They're emotional support animals. You guys, that's what we all need, right? We need an emotional support animal. That should just say dog, not ESA anymore. They just don't have the rights. It used to be, and it still could be, the HOA. They could do an HOA, and they were given rights to fly, which they've taken that away. They're literally just considered a pet. So that's it. Like, honestly, I wish this term would go away because if it's to a certain point that a person requires a dog trained specifically for anxiety, there are tasks we can train, then we need to slide on over to the service dog category. But do you see the difference in training and cost? It can average on the low side $25,000 to get a service dog trained, and that's still not like 100% trained. We place a little younger because it saves people a lot of money, and we have the support to follow up training as well. And there's been a lot of communication like, hey, this dog is still young, it's still a puppy, you have to continue this follow-up training. We have our trainer go there and work with them for a couple days first too to help, and then we're always here, like Kiana just did. Kiana's popping in too. So they puppy raised their diabetic alert dog. She came back for official training, and then they were just in Vegas to pick her up from our official training. But Kiana, you can say too how much this is not a robot, this is not a pet. It's a big time commitment to continue with the training. They're just like children. If you don't hold them accountable, you don't keep their skills tight, you're not putting time in every day to continue to make sure obedience is on point. When they backslide, you take care of it right away. If their alerting gets messy, like, you have to be on it to fix it. So it's a big commitment. And there's a lot of families, I say, I can't place a diabetic alert dog with you because, one, your child's really young and the diagnosis was really soon. The last thing I want, because I think there's this ideology of it's going to save your child's life, which it will eventually. But when you're in such turmoil and your world's been flipped upside down, you're trying to keep your child alive and learn about insulin and dosing and Dexcoms and this and that and finding doctors and like settling in to life with a diabetic, the last thing you need is a dog that you have to continue follow-up training with on top of everything else. It's not the time, because I'm setting you up to fail, and I'm setting the dog up to fail. So you should not, please not even consider a diabetic alert dog until at least 1 year into diagnosis. And then you have to consider the time it's going to require to continue to keep that dog on point. If you get lazy and you're not checking your alerts when they alert, and if they're wrong alerts and you're not correcting that, or you're not rewarding it when it is right, it all goes to really very quickly. And there goes your $25,000 dog. Now it's a pet. So it does require a lot. If I could stress anything about a service dog, it's that. It's a lot of work. There's typically, historically, a 25% backslide in training upon placement. And you're like, well, holy crap, fix it. I can't fix it because you're not a professional trainer, right? Like, we place the dog on point. There's going to be 25% backslide in training. And our goal is to then make sure we get you caught back up and back on track. Jen, great mention too. You also need to consider sending kids to school with a dog when they're too young, or they're not, responsible or capable. If they can't take care of themselves at school, if they're in a self-contained room, who do you think is going to take care of the dog? Who's going to listen to the dog's cues when they're stressed, when they need a break, when they have to go potty? Then you're asking staff to do that. You guys, that is a nightmare. Please don't even, again, it's that unrealisticness that we think they're just robots and they'll care for themselves. They are still dogs, and they need someone to look after, protect, and have that trusted relationship with. If that's not possible with the child, and that sometimes that's not, then it's up to the parents to make sure that's possible. And sending them to school with the dog is definitely not a good idea. The child has to be high enough functioning to be able to also care for the dog. And we want to see that for quite a while before they start taking them into the school. They have to, you're asking your child to be responsible and watch for cues and do corrections and fix things when they're not. And God, dogs will vomit, dogs will get diarrhea. Like, you gotta be realistic about having a service dog. And I know many people, I didn't do a good enough job initially really explaining, you learn along the way, how much work it is. So I have that very honest conversation, and I'll say, no, not at this time. I believe in this. I know that can help your child, but I'm literally adding a burden to you right now. Can you take care of another kid? Do you want another child? And most parents are like, oh my God, no. I'm like, okay, you just answered your question, because, you have to pack for your service dog, get boots on them, get them vested up, pack their own bag with collapsible water bowls and whatever's needed, the gear they need, all of that stuff. It's like leaving the house with another child and making sure they're being taken care of, and you're listening to them too. And oh my God, don't poop on the. It just is. It's the reality. Now, on the flip side, once we get through all of that, once someone's truly ready to have a service dog, it can be a truly beautiful thing, and lives are saved and changed through the power of their service dog. Yeah, Kiona, a diaper bag for sure. That's what you're packing, a diaper bag for your dog, or a backpack or something. They need their own little travel bag with poop bags and water and bowls and treats and whatever else you may need. Switch the vest out. Now it's summertime, get the, mesh vest. It's a whole different world to have a service dog than it is a pet. All right, such an important topic. I hope that this helps clarify things for so many people. I hope it helps clarify things for breeders so that we can help our clients, direct them what they really need, because this truly is life-changing. And unfortunately, we're setting up our dogs and our clients up to fail if we don't get this really squeaky clean. It's hard enough. They're all placed as candidates. They're all a candidate for the job, right? The better I do my job, the better. And the better you do your job, the better, the less chance of a washout. And of course, a lot of it has to do with your trainer as well. I say it's the perfect triangle: owner, breeder, trainer, to get this right, truly. So that is the deal. Of course, if you ever have any questions, email us. We'll hash all this out with you. We're pros. We got it. My office manager's got it. We do this every single day. We get these kind of emails, and we have to really kind of flush it out. Is this what you mean? Is this what you want? And you know what we find too? People don't know, because there's not a lot of information, and there's not this super setup like you can go to this big organization, and I would love to do that someday, that you just know that, hey, if you want a facility dog, go here, a therapy dog, and it had everything all set up for you. Like, that would be a dream, but it's not. And you know that, and I know not. It's very disjointed. People don't know what they're talking about. People don't know how to evaluate. People don't know how to train. Like, there's so many factors that fall apart, and including what other animals you have in the home, other children, other responsibilities. We have to look at everything to make sure that this is a success. Right? All right, questions here. We are doing that now for our little guy. Gabby is walking down the aisle with him in my wedding. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see pictures, Christina. Katie says, such a great topic today. Thank you for sharing all this important information. Katie, thank you for being one of our puppy raisers to make this happen. She can attest firsthand how much work is required. She'll take our babies at 8 weeks old, and we have level 1 training, which is puppy raising, level 2, which is when they basically hit 16 weeks and they can start working out in public, and then level 3, where we're doing all the service dog and finalization of public access testing. So it's a 3-part process, and dogs slide around, and some take longer to get through that, some shorter. We've washed a few dogs. Thank God our wash rate is still very low. But we've honored our dog, and they didn't fail. We just changed their course. We changed their course to match what they need, and their journey just changed a little bit, and they still have had a great impact on their new path, their new job, right? They told us very clearly, I don't want to work out in public. I thought maybe I did it 8 weeks old, but I don't think so anymore, and that's okay. So I'm so thankful for my puppy raisers too, the constant feedback, the videos, the pictures, so we can constantly check in. And our head trainer too, that keeps tabs on all of the puppies and lets us know we're on track. I think we may need to think of a career change for this dog, and we make it happen because, number one, we honor and respect our dogs and listen to them. They were given a voice in their placement, and they continue to be given a voice until their final placement, their job, their purpose. Heather says, people are getting better at asking to not pet my dogs in public. Yeah, people are. I mean, I think we're really continue to spread the education. There's a lot of platforms that do a really good job too of spreading service dog politeness, what you should do and say, and just listen. Though it's really easy, just ignore a service dog. Just ignore a dog in vest unless you know it's on a therapy dog team. You know, that's something you can ask. Is this dog here to be pet? But I will tell you, look at the vest, because we mark our vest very clearly. Do not pet. Doesn't mean the dog's mean. Doesn't mean the dog's going to bite you. It means they are working. Mind your own business. If the vest says, pet me, I'm friendly, that's their job. They come on up and love on the dog, right? Like, that's what they're there for. They're working as a therapy dog wherever they are. So good reminder, Heather. Christina, you and your team are amazing. Thank you for all the fabulous information. Bella wishes we lived closer so she could come work with you. I know. Bring that girl up for the day or something. I haven't seen her in ever. All right, everybody, happy Friday. I am Jeanette with 4E Kennels. We are not only healing hearts and changing lives through the power of a dog, but we are on a mission to change the standards of breeding as well. And we have over 4,000 breeders in my mentorship program. And look, we are just getting started. So thank you for being a part of this. We need to defund puppy mills. We need to continue to educate the public about our special working jobs, but also how our working dogs jobs, but also how and where to buy, because you know why puppy mills are still in business? Because the public is funding them. You keep buying dogs from them. First question you should ever ask before you buy a dog is, can I return the dog if I needed to at any time in its life? And if that's a no, automatically a breeder just in it for the money. So if breeders took back any of their returned dogs, and we all have returned dogs, then they're not going to the shelter, they're not going to the rescue groups, right? Backyard breeders don't stand behind their breeders. Ill-intentioned backyard breeders don't stand behind their dogs. And puppy mills do not stand behind their dogs. They wipe their hands clean and they're gone in pet stores. Most pet stores are on a mission, like I am, to change the ideology behind pet stores, and working on that as well. But stop funding online brokers. If you can't meet the breeder, if you can't see the breeder, if they don't have a website, you can't talk to the breeder, they won't take their dog back. Guys, run. Don't think you're rescuing a dog by buying it from a shitty breeder. You're just funding those shitty breeders, and they continue to breed. Have a great weekend. Bye.